So initially, this video was just going to be a general guide on what makes combos good and what makes combos bad. It was going to be a video on what differentiates between Choso and someone like Toto in their combos. Despite the damage for both these characters being pretty similar in numbers, Choso is almost universally regarded as the better character, and even if his neutral wasn't elite, his combos would still put him above Toto in that class. So I picked up a bunch of characters that I used or haven't used before in order to see their combos and make judgments on them. And picking back up Yuta for the first time in almost a month, this character completely shocked me. I thought Yuta was still a terrorist the way people talk about him in this game. People love complaining about Yuta. They love talking about his damage and his combos, so I thought he was still running the game. I pick him up to try him for the first time in a while, and he's garbage. This character is horrible at this point. Yuta had a really solid bag of tricks pre-nerf that helped him in almost every avenue. In neutral, a low cooldown haymaker really kept the opponent humble, and while Veil Step 2 was always pretty terrible, Veil Step 1 is still a godlike move. Melee invulnerability that lets Yuta approach in any way he wants to. It also combo started too, which is much more valuable pre-nerf than post-nerf because pre-nerf, he had real tools to evasive bait with. Like I referenced in my last fight against the Yuta in my Mekamaru video, Revolve isn't safe anymore. You can't evasive bait with that move post-nerf because Rika Down Slam has been changed entirely. Rika Down Slam used to always do its aerial variant when the opponent was beneath Rika. This was one piece of Yuta's bag of tricks that was so integral to how Yuta played. So much so that I'm actually really shocked people don't talk about this more often. Aerial Rika Down Slam was a kingpin in Yuta's moveset. This move really helped enable Yuta's advantage. There was so much utility in this one move. If the opponent evasived right before getting hit with the Rika Down Slam, their momentum was stalled heavily, enabling Yuta to get a follow-up afterwards. This move and Yuta's pre-nerf kit in general was really good at helping Yuta win harder when he was already winning. Low cooldowns on the Rika moves meant there was never an escape for the opponent. But with no effective way of baiting evasive, Yuta really struggles to begin pressing his advantage. And I really don't think that Veil Step 2 into Rika launch is an effective enough way to evasive bait for Yuta. The reason I don't really like it is because of how much risk it puts onto the Yuta. And if the Yuta loses their 50-50, they stand to lose so much. They either don't get any damage in and now it's reset back to neutral where Yuta isn't really all that powerful in, or even worse, the opponent guesses when the Yuta would land with their Veil Step 2 and punishes them for it. And before, I said this was a 50-50, but it's not really a 50-50 if you think about it a little more. If Yuta has his evasive, he's more likely going to land with the Veil Step 2. If he doesn't have his evasive, he's more likely to use Rika launch instead. So while it initially feels like a 50-50, there's a little more to it that you can think about whenever you're fighting a Yuta player. Things that you have to think about that really did not matter with pre-nerf Yuta. From what I remember using pre-nerf Yuta, he really played like Choso in the fact that you don't have to consider your opponent's evasive all that much. The opponent is going to be comboed regardless of whether they have evasive or not. Of course, if they don't have evasive, that's even better. But just like Choso throughout his entire lifespan, pre-nerf Yuta just didn't really need to think about that. Something else to mention is the change in stun they did to Severing Path. This move doesn't stun long enough for Resolute Slash to combo into. No shot this was an oversight. I bet this is going to get fixed next update. But the fact that Resolute Slash loses all types of use because you can't use it during combos, that to me is like a showcase of how weak the move is in concept. Auto-tracking moves like Yuta's and Naoya's, they're just too difficult to balance in my opinion. They should never be added to the game. Right now, Naoya's Decisive Strike is incredibly broken. It's guaranteed to hit your opponent and you can spin around however you want to in order to get that. After it hits, it combo starts and adds on some projection to the opponent. So you can throw out this move in neutral, gain 70% projection on an opponent, and maybe even start a frame combo with that. So off of an auto-tracking move where it's essentially up to luck if you win or not, off of that move, now you can get 70% projection bar and even start a big combo off of that. But another problem with the move that I don't see a lot of people talking about, and this is usually a problem with auto-tracking moves in general, like in fighting games like this, the rewards are too skewed heavily in both sides. When that Naoya presses his 3, automatically neutral has been removed from the equation. By pressing that 3, Naoya has guaranteed one party is getting massive value. The dance of neutral has been completely skipped, and now it's up to luck as to whether the Naoya gets his damage in or whether the opponent gets their damage in. Streamlining the fight like this is not fun for either party, and it's what makes this move so terribly designed. The problem isn't even that the move is largely left up to luck as to whether the opponent blocks it or not. The actual problem is that neutral is skipped and it forces one or the other person to start getting their combo and their damage in. It forces this off of the click of a button that you can hit anytime, anywhere. And the reason I bring this up is because Resolute Slash is that same type of move. If you guys notice, I don't know if you play Yuta or if you play against Yuta players don't use this move ever anymore. And there's a reason for that. Outside of a combo, you're all but guaranteed to be punished for it. And because Severing Path doesn't combo into it anymore, The move has lost all functionality. Despite it being pretty clear that the move isn't supposed to be only combo filler and it's supposed to be used sometimes in neutral, you don't see any Yutas using it in neutral at all. So to me, the move has failed in its purpose. It's failed in its purpose, and I think going forward, any type of move like it is going to fail in its purpose as well. Or it's going to be too overpowered like Decisive Strike is right now. These moves just don't fit in JJS, they don't fit in this style of combat. This section actually applies to pre-nerf Yuta as well. But I wanted to include this anyway because I was going to make a video about Decisive Strike and speak about it, but I didn't end up getting to that. Okay, let's talk specifically about Yuta's spot in the meta. Whenever I see people's tier lists, I still see Yuta like top 3, top 4. And to me, it's like, even if you disagree with every single thing that I've said in the previous parts of this video, what about Yuta places him above half of the characters in this game? Like, really think about it. Like, clearly, he's not better than Megami, he's not better than Mekamaru, he's not better than Choso. Those three, indisputable. Yuta's not even in their league. Okay, so you continue, go down the list some more. Yuta versus Yuki, he's losing to Yuki. Yuta versus Hikari, he's losing to Hikari. Mahito, post-buff Locust, the Decisive Strike Merchant Naoya, I'm taking all 3 of them over Yuta. And I'm gonna be real, I'm taking Gojo over Yuta. So you look back at the list, you're looking at the tier list and you're like, this fringe top 10 character is who people are glazing every day. The amount of meat writing and complaints that I see about Yuta every single day, you would think this character is a top 1 contender. But you actually list out the characters in the meta and you realize this character is fighting with Todo and Yuji for 10th place. Let's list out the basic attributes of a character in this game. The things that are largely the deciding factors for whether a character is good or bad. As I've already outlined, Yuta's evasive baiting isn't really that strong. I'm not going to tell you it's Higgy level of evasive baiting, but there's definitely a lot more that you would want from it. When it comes to his damage, he's just not special. He's in the same boat as basically the majority of characters in this game. Like I said in a previous video, if you're not doing pre-version 1.67 Megami levels of damage in a single combo using all your moves, your damage just isn't relevant. The deciding factor for what makes a character top tier will almost never be the amount of damage they can do with all 4 of their moves. That's why Mekamaru remains top 1. It's that utility that he gains outside of combos that really pushes him the extra edge. I mean, it's not like he can even one-shot combo. Yeah, I don't know what they're cooking with this character. They buffed the damage of Offload Ultra Cannon, but they didn't even mention it in the update logs. Were they afraid of people finding this one-shot combo? I don't know. It's whatever though. Let's think of new mecha when he just released. At that time when he just released, he didn't have a one-shot combo, yet he was still regarded as top 1 of the game, and in my opinion, he was a tier above the game. And the reason for that is because Offload Ultra Spin would carry your damage in every interaction, and then you can use your other moves as neutral options to get in quickly. 4 Offload Ultra Spins on release did 60 damage. That was more than enough. And it allowed new mecha to use his other moves to focus on extending his combos and looping his offload cooldown, instead of having to save the moves in order to get good damage in your combos. I know it sounds kind of ridiculous to listen to. It sounds like I'm saying damage doesn't matter here, but it also matters here. But it's the versatility of Offload Ultra Spin, the fact that it has no cooldown, the fact that it's a solid neutral option. It's those two things are what allows the damage of the move to really shine and really like show through. If you took away the versatility of Offload Ultra Spin, but you kept the amount of damage it did pre-nerf, the move would be far worse than it is right now. And that's why I always say, if you're not doing pre-nerf Megami damage, your damage isn't like the most important thing in your kit. Everything else is what's more important. And while I don't exactly know the damage numbers for Yuta combos like I do for Choso, I can safely guess and assume he's probably in that 80 to 75 range. In which case, he's not doing any game-changing damage. Now let's think about his neutral too. His neutral wasn't even that insane pre-nerf, let alone now when his cooldowns are even higher. In fact, I'd say pre-nerf Yuta was mostly an M1 merchant. Even though Veil Step had a low cooldown and Haymaker also had a low cooldown, even though I don't want to understate those moves because they were solid pre-nerf and are still pretty decent now, Yuta still mostly relied on his M1s in the same way a Gojo or Hikari would. And yet, he was still able to hang around those high tier characters because of how good he was at keeping the pressure on the opponent. He also had the underground Rika down slam tech. This really forced hyper aggressive players to be humble against Yuta, because that move was a jump scare and it started a full combo. But current Yuta, he doesn't have underground Rika down slam, his cooldowns got increased almost across the board, the duration of his severing path move got decreased, meaning he's not looping his cooldowns as efficiently as before. He's just lost so much of the sauce that he used to have. He's just not Choso, Mekamaru, Megami tier anymore. He's overhyped and he's just not all of that. Make sure to like and subscribe.